Once upon a time, there was an evil sorcerer. He ruled the land with fear and dark magic. The sorcerer scoured the land far and wide, searching for the crystal of realism. The stick people were happy. This made the sorcerer angry. And he took the crystal and he casted the evil spell. And he turned the stick people into 3D. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In the previous video, we made this basic menu screen. And in today's video, we're going to be making the screen that actually goes before the menu screen. So you know in The Binding of Isaac, when you launch it, it goes something like, Isaac and his mother lived alone in a small house on the hill. We're going to be making kind of like the equivalent of that. So if you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. The entire project is available for download for free in the description of the video. So if you've been following it up to this point, this is going to include all of the story assets. So in the story scene, there's all of these assets that are actually appearing, but this isn't the way that it's going to stay. It's going to be turned into a video. So things like this, for example, you've got a bunch of lights and you've got particles. So there's like 10,000 particles. The lights are reflecting off the particles. It's very, very hard on your computer, and it's just going to be converted into a video. So all these assets are going to get deleted. The version I'm uploading, though, is going to have all these assets still in it. So if you try to run this, you might run into like significant performance issues. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to show you how I made this. And like I said, if you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. All right, so the same way that we started the last video, we created a scene for our menu. So let me just show you. So this is what we did in the last video. We made this menu, and there's going to be like a stick wizard or some type of artwork here. That's why all of this is at the bottom left corner. So we need to make a scene for our story. So if you right click at the bottom, you can click create scene, create scene like this. And then I've also made this into a folder because I put all of the assets that I use for the story into here. I'm going to delete this whole folder because we're going to be making this into a video rather than an actual scene with game objects. But yeah, so inside of the scene, you should start with a camera, a directional light, and a global volume. So the first thing I did was I changed the background of the camera. It defaults to a skybox, but for this kind of thing, we just want the background to be black. I've added this canvas to the thing the same way that we did in the menu. So if you right click somewhere, if you create a UI, any of these objects will create a canvas and then put the thing inside of it. So if you don't have a canvas already and you click UI and you put Text Mesh Pro, right here at the top, this one. If you select this, it will automatically create a canvas. After you've created a canvas, it's super important that on the right, you change it to scale with the screen size. That way, will no matter what device you're playing this on, it will always be the correct size and will fit to your device. So, and then the other thing that I did that was really cool for this is I used this pixelated font. So this is a font you can download from the internet from dafonts.com. The link is right here at the top. And if you do pick a font that's not this one from the internet, just in the top right corner, it will tell you if it's free or not. Make sure you choose one that is 100% free. There's a lot of them that have attribution required, or you could have to pay for like a license fee or something like that. I'm probably not going to sell the game anyway. It's just going to be a free game, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, so attached to the text is the script. And so this is the script that makes everything happen within like the story. So when you launch it, there's several different scenes to play in the order, and this is the script that actually does that. Let me just show you. So all of the assets are saved that are required for the story are saved at the top here. And then in the start method, we're just starting a coroutine, which is playing the story. And before I actually made the story, what I did was I created the scene, the concepts of the scenes in comments first. So like I have each of the scenes that I was going to make, and I wrote them out as like comments, and then I did it afterwards. So at the start of each scene, we're basically just animating text. And I've made a method that actually animates the text. So the text doesn't all just appear all at the same time. It runs one letter at a time as it's appearing. So I'll show you the method. So we're starting a coroutine that actually animates the text that actually appears. And inside of this, it takes a position, which is optional. So if you don't put a position, it will stay wherever it was. But if you do put a position, it will move the text to wherever you decided to move it to. This is because there's different scenes where the main thing is happening right where the text was. So you need to move the text around so that it actually fits in the correct spots. And then so we're animating each character in the text to get added to the text box, the text field. And then we're waiting the character delay, which we've put at the very top here, which is 0.05 seconds. That seems to be a good number. And this is also where you could put the noise if you wanted to. So sometimes when you have like games or whatever, and there's text that's appearing on the screen, there'll be like some type of like keyboard clicking or something like that. I don't really like that, to be honest. I'm not going to be doing that in mine. But if you wanted to, this is a spot where if you wanted to put a sound effect for each keystroke or whatever, you could totally do that. So in the first scene, we're setting the evil wizard to be active, and then we're setting his animator to be enabled, which will actually make it play, and we're setting these background lights to be active as well. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So this is the evil wizard, and of course you can't see him because he is, oh, there he is. Okay, okay, he's behind the plane. Okay, so this is the evil wizard. He's not very high detail right now. I'm probably gonna, oh my god, can I get this blocker out of the way? I'm probably gonna be doing, so he doesn't really need to be high detail because he's behind this huge particle system and these lights. So let me turn the lights on and let me turn on the particle system. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Okay, so you can see, oh, this looks pretty cool. So you can see like there's all these particles and he's animated. So when the scene starts, he has an animation attached to him where he flies upwards. So you can see the position here. He starts at -144y and then he flies up onto the screen and then he slowly moves down just a little bit. So it's like a correction. So like he goes up and then he comes back down. And so this is basically the first scene. Now in the video version of this, I've actually applied an after effect. So in the video version of this, I'll be applying like light rays that will also impact this and skew the light. You can see it in the intro, like in the actual intro of this video, but he'll be skewed. So you can see like he just kind of flies up into the scene and these particles. This is very high performance because you have particles and you have lights that have to update in real time, and it's not ideal. But so the other thing I want to show you is that let's turn this off. We've got this blocker. And so this was a bad choice on my part. I used a plane for the blocker rather than, this should have been done on the user interface. Let me turn these lights off as well. So basically the purpose of the blocker is it just blocks the screen. So like when he's flying up, it actually fades from black. So you can see that there's an animation attached to this right now. The alpha is starting at 1 and going to 0. So as he moves upwards, there's like, here, I'll just press play and kind of show you. So you see how it like faded from black? And so it didn't just like, it wasn't playing the entire time. It's like a blocker that blocks the screen and it fades things in and fades things out. Again, this should have been done on the user interface layer, but I just didn't. So you can see like right now, it's still there, but it's like very, very faint. And then when he disappears or when the next scene happens, it'll fade back into black. So look, see right now it's dissolving into blackness. So I'm using this blocker to fade between the scenes. And again, this should have been a user interface thing. And so you can see that I am playing this fade to black animation. This animator is the animator for that blocker. It's not actually the animator for the evil wizard. The evil wizard, he has the animator enabled by default. So when you turn him on, automatically his default animation plays, which is him flying upwards. But this animation is attached to this blocker because we're using this blocker in every single scene throughout the entire clip. So then in the second scene, we're doing this purple visual effect. So we're just setting this visual effect graph to be true. And we're also doing the blocker animation again. So that's like, again, that's the black fading thing. And then this is the animate text that I showed you at the beginning. And this is happening pretty much every scene. So I'll show you like how it kind of looks. So it kind of looks like crap here, but because we're inside of the global volume, we've got a depth of field turned on with a focus distance of 0.1. So even though it looks very sharp and kind of ugly in the actual scene itself, in the game, because of the depth of field, it blurs everything together and it makes it look like really kind of like trippy and cool. I think it looks pretty awesome. Here, I'll show you the. Let me see if I can find it. It's right here. So it's just a circle. This is very similar to things we've done before. So I created a simple heads and trails. So if you go to systems, there's heads and trails right here. This is basically what I did. So by default, it has like this purple color. I think I took away a couple of the keys. And so I'm setting the position of the particles to be in a circle instead of just like going straight upwards. And then I'm setting the particles to be going away from the center here. And then I'm making the particles rotate in a circle. So we're getting the position of them, and then we're rotating them in a circle around it. And then there's also turbulence, which is it's just the default part of the heads and trails particle system. This is a very, very simple particle system. It's just the default, except for we're setting it into a circle, and then we're spinning it using Rotate 3D. So then we have this desert scene where it's basically I've just taken a very large plane in Blender and I've used proportional editing to move up some of the parts. And then I use geometry nodes to scatter rocks all over the plane. Again, we did this in a previous video at one point. These are just rocks out of the rock generator. So inside of Blender, there's an add-on that allows extra objects. And one of the extra objects is a rock. And so I just scattered rocks on the plane using that. And basically the camera starts. So I've put this desert camera. Oh my goodness. I hope I'm not looking for it by name. But anyway, so there's a desert, not dessert, camera, which is right here. So I'm setting the main camera to be in this position. And then what happens is over the duration of the scene, this goes backwards like this, away. So like it's better in the game view, I guess. So it moves away on the Z axis, maybe? Oh, okay, I'm moving the desert camera. So this camera moves backwards as it's playing. And then there's this particle system, which is supposed to be like a sandstorm kind of deal. And because of the blur, it really like this Gaussian blur, or it's a bokeh blur. This makes it just look so cool when it's backing away from the camera. So like as you're going backwards, it's all blurred out in the actual scene view. It just makes it look like, I don't know, it's pretty sweet. So I'll show you the code. So again, we play the blocker animation, which makes it fade inwards instead. We set the background color to be slightly red. So the background color of the camera itself, here, let's just go to the scene. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it here, but the color of the camera background is actually slightly red. It's not pure black anymore. I felt it just added a little bit of kick to it to make it like look a little bit more like it's different scenery than the initial one. And none of like the music or the sounds are obviously in the game yet. They're obviously only in the video version of it because I just recorded that as part of this video. I set the global distance of field, or sorry, what's it called? Depth of field. I set this to 0.7. So it by default in the actual scene itself, the global volume is set at 0.1, which is extremely blurry. But for this scene, I decided that 0.7 still gave it kind of a blur, which makes this like this effect happen that you can see on the ground. But 0.1 is just too blurry, and so you can't see the detail in like the rocks or anything else. But I kind of like 0.7 better for this scene. So you can change the depth of field distance by getting the global volume profile and getting the depth of field from it, and then setting the value like this. It's kind of different than a lot of the other ways you access the components. And then, of course, we're setting the so we're saving the camera position of the actual camera. Like, so the camera is in a position initially, so we're saving that position, and then we're moving the main camera to the desert camera position so that it can start moving backwards. And then we have this coroutine that slowly moves the camera from the start position to the offset. So it takes the position that it's at, and then it's moving it by the offset, which is -200 in the z-axis. So it moves backwards away from like towards the person that's looking at it. Yeah. So then we have this scene where this is probably what took me the longest of making this. So basically, I just sculpted this. So the walls anyway, and like the background, I sculpted this in Blender. There's something called the fishhook tool, so you can pull different parts away, which makes for like little viney, creepy, like little things or whatever. And then I have this diamond, which again, this is an extra object that you can get out of the extra objects pack. It's just I think it's called a rough cut diamond or something. I don't remember, but anyway, it's something that is included. And then I just took a brush and I painted it essentially and just went over all of the lines. And then I used the texture that I painted as an emission for this. So if you look in the material, so this is the drawing that I have of it. And then I just put this onto the emission slot of this, and then I made it pretty bright. So I guess it's really not that bright. But then the other thing that we have going on here is there's actually a lot going in. So you've got the searching for the crystals. So these things happen on a black screen. And then we've changed the font size. So this is where we start messing with the font. So we changed the font size to 100. This font has a very cool exclamation mark. It's like a diagonal looking exclamation mark. I really like the way that it looks. And we're animating the text, but at the same time, we've changed the color. So we've got 0.5 red, 0.5 green, but then we have 15 blue. So if you go above the number 1 in color, it will automatically add like an emission or like a glow or a blur to it. So that just makes it look a lot cooler. And then we're turning off the depth of field because we want to be able to see the crystal in its clarity. And like this scene has like a lot of detail. So we're just turning this whole depth of field off. And then we're moving the camera towards the crystal. So this is the same exact script as moving the camera away. So then we have this shake text script, which is pretty cool. And so it basically picks an X and a Y of it. There's a random between -1 and 1 times the magnitude. So that's how far away from the center that it can go. And then it just like moves it around at random. So it's just like moving the entire time. It's pretty sweet. It makes it look pretty cool. And then it's also fading at the same time. So at the same time that it's shaking the text, it's already fading it because these are running simultaneously. So it starts at the color that it starts as, and the end color is 0, but this last number is alpha. So it's eventually going to go to 0 alpha, which means it's invisible essentially. So then we have this 2D stick wizard scene where he's just like kind of floating around the screen. This is probably the part of this that I like the least, maybe. It's kind of humorous. Like it's got like a humor factor to it a little bit, I think. But at some point, I'll probably create a better version of this or something. Maybe not. Like maybe there'll be more to this part of the story than just like a 2D stick wizard or stick person that's like floating around in circles or whatever. There could be like stick people or something like that, and there could be more to the story. Where they like show them living their lives or whatever, or like also he's not a sorcerer in this, so somehow he has to become a sorcerer, so that's going to be part of the story that gets like addressed or whatever. But yeah, basically when you activate this, it just automatically does the animation because it's attached to it, and there's nothing really special about this. And then I created a different model of the sorcerer and I added like a frowny face to him for this scene. So this is the same exact sorcerer as before. And again, the blocker animation and the fade to black, these are things that I already talked about before, but basically I'm just setting it to be active. So this is the unhappy stick wizard. And I'll just turn the blocker off. Hang on. So he's got the very similar animation where, sorry, that's the blocker. That's not what I wanted. It's a very similar animation as the initial one that he has where he just moves upwards and then comes down a little bit. So like he's unhappy. This is his like frowny face or whatever. And again, this is kind of a little bit rushed. It's kind of comical. Like it's funny, but it's not really on the same really level as the rest of it. The whole thing is probably going to get some revamps and stuff like that as I go along. But so then the last kind of scene that I have is the wizard is holding the crystal of realism. So he must have found it, right? And again, this is something that isn't really covered because he was scouring the land for it, but it doesn't really address the fact that he's like found it or whatever. But I mean, it doesn't really have to make sense. It's fine. I don't know. Anyway, so basically he spins in circles as the text is playing. And so like this is like his thing. And then this visual effect is just it's just a simple sparks and trails. So if you right click, you can create an opera or a system, and there's one for heads and sparks. So this is the default for heads and sparks, and I just changed like some of the sizes and stuff. But aside from that, it's exactly as it started. Like it's no different. And maybe this should be blurred out. I think that I still have the depth of field turned off, so maybe this one would be better blurred out. I'm not sure. Let me see. Hang on. Let's see what that looks like. Let's go and turn this back on here. And we'll just turn this on. And it would still be at 0.7 instead of 0.1 because we changed it. So we should probably set that as well. So let's see if we can add that too. Make it really blurry and see what it looks like. I'm not sure if this will be good or not, but whatever. So it changes to 0.1. Let's just save this. And so also we're setting the background to be blue. So like as he's casting the spell, the color of the background starts as black and then it becomes blue over the duration of the spell, so that it kind of like symbolizes like something is happening or whatever. And in this, it doesn't go anywhere after that. So in my video version of it, then it shows like the 3D stickman, but that's not actually part of this. That was just done in After Effects with like the I took a screenshot of my stick character in Blender. It's low effort, right? Like it's not something I spent a lot of time on, but I got to turn the blocker back on. Hang on. Turn on the blocker. Yeah, maybe the depth of field should stay on. I don't know. Anyway, so that's pretty much the end of the scene. And then so what will happen is I'm gonna video record this and then get a final copy. And when I'm 100% happy, you would have to handle a click or any button press at all. So it would be like on key press or something. So that's pretty much going to be it for the day. If you guys enjoyed the series or the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yeah,